But first, something we often talk about on the Late Debate, and that's the dangers of a cashless society, though it doesn't seem many Australian politicians are concerned. Others, however, are starting to take note. The Norwegian government is passing legislation to guarantee the rights of consumers to use cash when buying goods and services. Now, what's interesting about that is that Norway has one of the highest uptakes of digital use. A recent survey found that only 3% of Norwegians had used cash in their last purchase at a physical store. The Norwegian government, though, sees risks that they want to mitigate. They want to protect consumers who don't want to use digital by guaranteeing them the right to still use cash. And they want to protect the economy in the event of, say, an internet collapse, so that people can still buy and sell with cash in plentiful supply. This follows the Swedish government's decision to compel banks to offer cash withdrawals. Now, here in Australia, just recently, we've talked about the fact, Caleb, in Western Australia, Bank West closed not only 60 branches, but all the ATMs associated with them, saying we are going fully digital. And of course, we remember well Bob Katter at the Australian Parliament Cafe getting all upset because even in the Parliament Cafe, they wouldn't take his cash. Do you think eventually Australia are going to start to cotton on that we need to do something to guarantee trade?
Well, as you say, we do at least have Bob Katter. And look, someone has to wake up. And again, I would say this is an easy one for the coalition to go with leading into the next federal election, which is about a year away or probably less than that, to be perfectly honest. Because the one thing with cash is you can't hack it, right?
Yep.
You can be attacked from all angles digitally, be it by China or Russia or any other nation on the face of the planet. If you have cold, hard cash, it cannot be stolen from you unless someone physically breaks into your house and takes it from you. You can have an entire country brought to its knees by hacking, entire financial systems brought down, access to your money revoked, like that, if it's all held digitally, which at the end of the day is the absolute importance of cash. You could kill a country in one fell swoop if you don't have cash. And, of course, cash mitigates the risk of anyone knowing how you are spending your money. And, I know some people go, oh, but I like using my bank card. Look, I say to you again, if you're a man, if you want to buy something that your wife doesn't know about, you need cash. And likewise, if your wife wants to go and buy a handbag, she needs cash in order to do it without her husband knowing about it.
Straight to nefarious purposes in order for you to sell cash.
At the most basic level, we all need cash in some way. And you look at, you're on a bus, for instance, right? And most states now allow you to use your credit card in place of like a Myki or whatever. But you go to the backwater of Melbourne where they have Myki, you can't use your credit card. So if you just go down to Melbourne for a weekend, don't have a Myki on you, can't tap your credit card, get on the tram or the bus, and you think, surely I'll be able to hand over a fiver and get a bus ticket. No, they don't accept cash. So what are you meant to do? You get on the bus and they go, sorry, you've got to walk 500 metres down there to the newsagent to go and get a Myki card.
And that's the government. That's the Department of Transport who decided to make it impossible for everyday people. I remember it was early last year, I caught a bus for the first time in a long time, handed the guy cash, and he literally looked at me stunned and was like, love, we haven't taken cash for years. And I was like, how is this possible? It's legal tender. But of course, Sweden going this way and now Norway following raises the question, why don't our leaders want to mitigate the same risks? I mean, check out this quote from one of the Norwegian leaders. She's the Justice and Public Security Minister, Emily Engemel. She said, the role of the government is to secure the preparedness of society. To only base oneself on digital payment system increase the vulnerability of a society. Well, what blessed common sense. Why can't we hear that from any of our ministers? I'll tell you why. Because if the banks, if the government succeed in getting just digital currency, you are a lot easier to control. It was just last week we were talking about the fact that banks have all these restrictions on what you can and can't spend your money on if indeed you want to spend some of your money on cryptocurrency. They've taken it upon themselves to limit you, all in the name of keeping you safe. We just don't want you to fall foul of fraud. That would be terrible. I've heard from family, friends and friends who contacted me after that part of the show we did and said, it happened to me. I was trying to buy crypto. My bank, most of them are in the West, so they said Bank West, similarly slapped us on the hand and said, no, we can't. This is why cryptocurrency was created. It was created by people who were sick of the control and the corruption of the central banking system, and that is why they created it. And the more the banks flex and the governments flex, bending people to their will in terms of a cashless society, the more we're going to see people turn to cryptocurrency. So as far as I'm concerned, I'm just like, dig your own grave, government. Keep going, banks. They keep showing their hand. It was just last week we were also talking about the fact that Bank West was like, we're going digital only. Prior to that, Macquarie Bank obviously said they'll be cashless by the end of this year. Combank's headed that way also. ANZ, they've all made plans to shut down more branches, have cashless branches, some of them, not all of them.
What's the point of a bank branch without cash in it?
But people need to become far more aware of the fact that they are putting the screws in terms of your access to cash. That's why the branches are closing. That's why the ATMs are closing. That's why some branches aren't handling cash at all.
Well, to the point of your question, what's the point of a bank branch if they're not dealing in cash? They make money from every electronic transaction, but by not offering cash, they drastically reduce their staff wages, but they're making money on every transaction. The other thing, aside from, I mean, you mentioned that digital makes you trackable and hackable. Cash, of course, does not. The other great thing about using cash, and I highly recommend this, is go into a store where the person on the cash register is, 20 years or younger, hand them cash requiring change, and just enjoy the confusion that comes across their face as they try to do the math.
What is this?
You are a cruel man.
They are literally incapable of working out how much change you should get.
You are a cruel man, Mr McPherson. And let's not forget, by the way, that the previous federal government tried to ban cash transactions of more than $10,000. So it would have been illegal for you to go to a bank branch and take out more than 10 grand, 15 grand to go and buy a car or something. It would have had to have been a digital transaction so the government could track it, because, of course, they're worried that people might be using cash for criminality. Of course people are using cash for criminality.
Always in the name of safety.
But you know what's going to happen if you ban cash transactions of more than $10,000? Only the criminals are going to do cash transactions of more than $10,000. It's pretty damn obvious, isn't it? Because it's not like we have illegal guns because we banned guns either, is it?